Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking you on a journey that basically starts with the cold, hard, measurable math of classical physics.
Right, which is not usually where we start these spiritual texts.
No, definitely not.
Mm.
But it starts with physics and it ends with the exact calculated trajectory of your soul.
It is a wild ride.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like, if you have ever looked around at your daily routine and felt like your life is just, running on autopilot, this highly concentrated source document we are unpacking today is going to fundamentally change how you view your everyday habits.
Yeah, I mean, it demands a complete paradigm shift. We usually keep the world of measurable science and the realm of esoteric philosophy separated by this massive wall.
Oh, totally. Like church and state, basically.
Exactly. But the text we're looking at today tears that wall down entirely. It uses the rigid laws of physics as a literal map for human consciousness.
And the document we are talking about is called The Summary of Reincarnation. It was written by Deiform Buddha on September 1st, 2006, with translation editing by Kinyu. And the mission for our deep dive today isn't just to talk about the afterlife in some, vague, cloudy, abstract way.
No, not at all. It is incredibly specific.
Super specific. We are going to unpack a highly mechanical framework of fate, free will, and how the psychological state you are holding on to right this very second maps directly onto a cosmic trajectory.
It's all about cause and effect.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this because the very first analogy in this document absolutely blew my mind. It asks you to think about an object in motion.
Right, and what's fascinating here is that the author starts with a premise straight out of Newton's first law.
Which is just wild to see in a spiritual text.
I know, right? The text states that an object moving in a straight line forever at a constant speed without any external forces acting upon it is a purely theoretical concept.
Yeah, because it doesn't actually exist in the real world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In reality, there are always external forces. There's friction, there's gravity, there's wind resistance.
Right, all these things pushing and pulling.
And those forces influence and constrain the object's movement. They lock it in.
And once the magnitude and direction of all those external forces are locked in, the text argues that the object's motion forms a fixed trajectory.
Which makes perfect sense for, like, a baseball.
Or an asteroid, yeah. But then the author takes that physical law and applies it to you and me. The text explicitly defines this fixed trajectory as destiny.
Right.
And I really want to pause and look at that because are we just asteroids bumping into things? Like if we don't consciously exert effort to steer, are we entirely at the mercy of our environment?
Well, that is the uncompromising reality presented in the text.
Wow.
Yeah. Before a person's spiritual perception is awakened, their life follows this completely predictable mechanical orbit.
So we're just reacting.
Exactly. Think about the external forces pushing on you daily. You have cultural expectations, economic pressures, family dynamics, your own ingrained psychological habits.
Right, the daily grind.
If you are just reacting to those forces, getting angry when provoked, buying things when advertised to, stressing when bills arrive, you are an object being acted upon.
You are on a fixed trajectory.
You are.
It is almost unsettling how mathematical the author makes this sound. Like, the text compares this unawakened, reactive state to how an astronomer can accurately predict a planet's orbit.
Because the math is known.
Right. Because the gravitational forces acting on the planet are known, its future path is entirely set. And then the document states that a wise fortune teller can therefore predict an unawakened person's future life path with high accuracy.
And that implication changes everything about how we view prophecy or, fortune telling.
How so?
Well, it frames destiny not as some mystical, magical decree handed down from the heavens, but as a rigid, observable formula.
Okay, I see what you mean.
If your internal state is a known quantity, say you are prone to jealousy, and the external pressures of your workplace are known quantities, your reaction is predictable.
So a fortune teller, in this framework, isn't looking into a magical crystal ball to see your future.
Not at all. They're simply doing the spiritual math. They observe the forces, and they calculate the trajectory.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, because the text doesn't just leave us trapped in that predictable planetary orbit.
Thankfully.
Yeah, right. The universe has a built-in escape hatch. The author introduces this concept of spiritual perception.
Right.
The document says that once this spiritual perception is awakened, destiny is entirely in one's own hands.
It's a complete flip.
Total flip. At that moment, even the greatest, most mathematically astute fortune teller is completely baffled.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are looking at a radical, sudden shift from strict determinism to ultimate free will.
It's like breaking the code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awakening this spiritual perception is the act of stepping outside the equation entirely. You are no longer just the sum of the external forces pushing against you.
Because you're actually pushing back.
Yes. The predictive model shatters because the awakened person, according to the text, can change their trajectory at any moment and, quote, transform in myriad ways.
Transform in myriad ways. I mean, that phrasing is so evocative, and it kind of forces me to push back on the traditional pop culture idea of enlightenment.
What do you mean?
Well, usually we are sold this image of enlightenment as reaching a state of ultimate static peace. You know, you sit on a mountain perfectly still, entirely unbothered by the world.
The Zen master stereotype.
Right, but if awakening allows you to transform in myriad ways, does that mean true enlightenment isn't about static peace at all? Is it actually about achieving ultimate unpredictability?
I would argue that unpredictability is the purest symptom of absolute freedom.
Wait, unpack that a bit.
Think about a rock sitting at the bottom of a serene pond. It's perfectly peaceful, sure, but it is still entirely bound by the physical laws of the pond.
It's stuck.
Right, it is on a fixed trajectory of stillness. True freedom, in the context of this document, requires dynamic agency. You are no longer a passive object.
You become the active creator of your own motion.
Exactly. The text defines practice and cultivation as the daily, active effort of awakening this perception. Enlightenment is simply the moment that perception comes online permanently.
Okay, so assuming we put in the practice and assuming we activate our spiritual perception and suddenly have our hands firmly on the steering wheel, where are we actually driving?
That is the big question.
Yeah, and this is where the document stops being a physics textbook and becomes a literal map of the cosmos. It provides what it calls a summary standard and guidance for practitioners.
And the destinations are incredibly detailed.
They really are. Instead of just saying, you know, you go to heaven, the destinations are staggeringly specific.
The author outlines a vast hierarchy of ascension. But the crucial mechanism to understand here is that these aren't arbitrary reward tiers managed by a cosmic judge.
It's not a point system.
No, it's physics again.
Yeah.
There is a direct causal relationship between the primary mindset you cultivate and the external reality you inhabit next. The internal frequency essentially becomes the external environment.
Wow. Let's explore how that actually maps out at the highest levels of ascension. Because the text lists 5 distinct ultimate destinations, and reading through them feels a bit like looking at a video game skill tree.
It's skill tree.
Yeah, like in a role-playing game. If you put all your experience points into a strength attribute, you unlock the warrior class. If you invest in magic, you become a wizard. According to this text, the universe works exactly the same way with your emotional and physical traits.
That's a great analogy, actually.
Oh.
And the specifics of those investments are profound. The document states that those who cultivate the greatest love will become super celestial beings.
Okay.
And those who achieve the utmost benevolence will become Buddhas.
Which really makes me wonder about the distinction there, because love and benevolence, they're often used interchangeably in everyday conversation.
They are, yeah.
But they unlock 2 entirely different cosmic tiers here. Love feels boundless, you know, like a state of pure emotional connection and unity.
Whereas benevolence is different.
Right. Benevolence feels more action-oriented. It is the active, deliberate will to do good and alleviate suffering.
It is a very sharp distinction. And the text goes on to list traits that completely upend traditional ascetic philosophy.
This part blew my mind.
It states that cultivating the greatest happiness leads to becoming a deity celestial being.
Happiness.
Yeah, and cultivating the greatest health results in becoming a land celestial being. Finally, the greatest kindness creates a human celestial being.
The idea of physical health being a divine attribute is just fascinating to me.
It's definitely not what you expect.
No. We are so used to spiritual traditions that preach self-sacrifice. You know, ignoring the body, fasting, treating the physical form as a temporary prison you need to escape.
Escaping the flesh.
Exactly. But this text elevates personal health to an ascendant trait. Like, why does prioritizing the vitality of your physical body lead to becoming a land celestial?
You have to look at the relationship between the trait and the environment. Health is the ultimate harmonization with the physical realm. It requires a deep respect for the biological vessel, an understanding of nature, of nutrition, and physical energy.
So you're tuning into the earth, basically.
Exactly. If your primary spiritual investment is in the profound well-being of your physical form, your resulting trajectory doesn't shoot you off into the abstract ether. It grounds you deeply.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
You become a land celestial, a spiritual being fundamentally connected to the earth, the elements, and physical vitality.
And if you invest your daily energy into cultivating pure happiness, you elevate into a deity celestial. The universe isn't asking you to suffer to prove your worth.
Not at all.
It's suggesting that maintaining a state of joy is inherently spiritual. But what if your virtues are a bit more grounded?
What do you mean?
Like, if you're not shooting for a celestial cosmos, but you are just trying to be a genuinely good person in society, does the system still account for you?
Oh, it absolutely does. The document dedicates an entire section to the human domain.
So you don't have to leave the planet to level up.
Right. Not all positive traits launch us out into the stars. Some virtues are inherently tethered to the social fabric of humanity, and the resulting trajectories keep you within that fabric, but with dramatically shifted circumstances.
The text outlines 4 specific paths here, and it reads kind of like a karmic ledger for societal good.
A ledger is a good way to put it.
It states that people with the greatest loyalty will ascend to nobility. People who are filial to their parents will return with great blessings. People who have built up their virtues will be wealthy.
The mechanism here relies on the principle of energetic reflection. Human societal structures, hierarchies, families, economies, they are seen as mirrors of underlying spiritual laws.
So what does this all mean for our understanding of things like wealth and power?
That's the tricky part.
It really is. I have to admit, seeing wealth listed as a direct reward for building up virtues makes me pause. It almost sounds like a cosmic prosperity gospel.
It definitely flirts with that line.
Right. It risks implying that anyone who is wealthy must have been virtuous, which we know from looking at the real world isn't always true. Is the universe essentially running a capitalist reward structure?
Well, we have to separate human corruption from the underlying principle the author is describing.
Okay, how so?
In this framework, virtue is the act of adding value to the world. It's creating harmony, solving problems, reducing friction for others.
Being useful to the system.
Exactly. The energetic echo of consistently adding value is resource abundance in your next cycle. It isn't a transaction where a cosmic bank hands you cash. It is the physics of accumulation.
Like attracts like.
Right.
Yeah.
You generated systemic wealth through virtue previously, so you naturally incarnate into a trajectory of material wealth.
That makes sense.
Similarly, if you demonstrated perfect loyalty, which is the ultimate respect for structure and hierarchy, your trajectory places you at the very top of the hierarchy as nobility.
So the cause perfectly matches the effect. You honored your roots by being profoundly filial to your parents, so your new roots in the next cycle are inherently blessed.
Exactly.
But there is one path in this earthly section that really tripped me up.
Which one?
The text says that people with impartial minds will return to the human world.
Why?
At first glance, having an impartial mind sounds like the ultimate goal of meditation. You are balanced, fair, unbiased. Does being balanced actually keep you tethered to the human experience rather than elevating you out of it?
An impartial mind is objective, right? It observes the world without extreme attachment or extreme aversion.
Yeah, perfectly centered.
But while that is a highly stable, peaceful state, it lacks the overwhelming transcendent thrust of the greatest love or the utmost benevolence we talked about earlier.
It doesn't have the rocket fuel.
Exactly. Let's go back to our physics metaphor. An impartial mind achieves a state of absolute equilibrium. And equilibrium means you stay exactly where you are.
Oh.
The human world is a realm of complex, balanced duality. Light and dark, joy and sorrow. An impartial mind is the perfect frequency match for that duality, so you naturally return to it.
Being perfectly balanced makes you perfectly human. I mean, it is a beautiful thought, but it inevitably brings us to the dark side of this cosmic map.
Yeah, we have to talk about the downward spiral.
Because if active, positive mindsets elevate us and balanced mindsets sustain us, what do negative, unconscious, or passive mindsets do to our trajectory?
The document does not shy away from this at all.
No, it details the downward spiral, and the consequences are intense.
And critically, just like the ascendant paths, the punishments are not random tortures designed by a vengeful God. They are perfectly mechanistically aligned with the psychological states that create them.
The mindset dictates the realm.
Always.
So the author lists 5 distinct downward trajectories. People with muddle-headed, confused minds will fall to the animal world.
Right.
People characterized by indifference will be reincarnated to the plant world. People with wicked intentions will sink into the ghost world.
It gets darker from here.
It really does. People who have lorded over and bullied others will degrade to the frozen layer. And finally, people who were intentionally evil will fall into the inflamed layer.
Yeah.
Let's break down the mechanics of these, starting with the one that feels, honestly, the most bizarre: reincarnating to the plant world because of indifference.
It sounds strange at first.
It does. Like,
Mhm.
is being a tree really a punishment? Standing quietly in a forest for centuries sounds rather peaceful.
This raises an important question about the nature of consciousness. We have to look at this through the lens of agency, which takes us right back to the beginning of the text.
To the physics.
Indifference is not peace. It is a fundamental lack of action. It is a refusal to engage, to choose, to care, or to exert any force upon the world.
So it is the ultimate surrender to being a passive object on a fixed trajectory.
Precisely. If your primary psychological state is complete passivity over a lifetime, your cosmic trajectory results in a form of life that is literally rooted to the ground.
Oh.
A plant cannot run away from danger, it cannot hunt, it cannot change its environment. It simply exists, acted upon by the weather, the animals, and the seasons.
So it's not a punishment, it's just a reflection.
It is the purest physical manifestation of indifference.
Yeah.
You gave up your spiritual agency, so the universe naturally strips away your physical mobility.
That reframes it completely. It's not necessarily a fiery torture, but it is the absolute loss of that spiritual perception we discussed earlier.
Yes.
And what about the animal world? Why does a muddle-headed and confused mind naturally fall into that realm?
Think about the internal experience of profound confusion. A confused mind is one that refuses or fails to impose order, logic, and higher reasoning on its reality.
It's a noise.
Right. Over a lifetime, if you surrender your capacity for complex thought, that mental muscle atrophies. When the physical body falls away, the consciousness that remains is fundamentally incapable of sustaining the complex reality of the human or celestial realm.
So it just shrinks.
It collapses inward. It devolves into pure stimulus, instinct, and immediate reaction. That is the defining architecture of the animal world.
The mind loses the ability to reason, so it naturally gravitates to an environment where reason isn't required, only survival.
Exactly.
That brings a chilling logic to the final 2 destinations. There is a striking elemental difference here that really needs unpacking. The text says that people who lorded over and bullied others go to the frozen layer.
The ice.
Yeah, but people who are intentionally evil fall into the inflamed layer, the fire. Both involve causing harm to others, so why the stark difference between ice and fire?
You have to look at the nuanced psychological nature of the actions. Bullying, dominating others, and lording your power over them requires a fundamental coldness of heart.
Right, a lack of empathy.
It is a profound lack of empathy that isolates you from the warmth of human connection. The psychological state of a bully is rigid, unyielding, and devoid of warmth.
Just completely frozen over.
Therefore, their trajectory naturally pulls them into the frozen layer, an environment that physically matches that isolating, rigid coldness.
And intentional evil operates on a completely different frequency.
It does. Intentional evil isn't just cold and isolating, it is actively, aggressively destructive. It seeks to consume and obliterate everything around it, just like fire.
It's hungry.
Exactly. Hatred, malice, and the deliberate creative desire to cause suffering are highly volatile, burning states of mind. The inflamed layer is the only environmental frequency capable of holding that level of chaotic consuming energy.
It is a terrifyingly elegant system. Every single thought you have, every habitual emotion you indulge, is acting as an external force.
Every single one.
It is drawing your trajectory toward a highly specific, undeniable destination. You are literally building the architecture of your next world with the mindset you're holding right now.
Which is why the author ends this incredibly dense, revealing summary with a single instruction. The final line of the document simply says, "Please verify these standards with those who have awakened spiritual perception."
It is such a powerful way to end the text. The author isn't demanding your blind faith.
No, not at all.
They are essentially saying, here is the math, here are the calculations. If you doubt it, go check the equations with the people who have actually figured out how to see the underlying code of the universe.
Right. Go ask the experts.
It brings this entire deep dive full circle, We've journeyed from the classical physics of deterministic destiny, where we are just objects pushed around by the world, all the way to a sprawling, intricate cosmic map of human mindsets.
And it all hinges on that one crucial pivot point we discussed.
Awakening.
Yes, until you become completely aware of the psychological forces acting upon you, your future is entirely predictable. You are trapped on the fixed trajectory, heading inevitably toward whatever realm matches your current habits.
Which brings the challenge directly to you listening to this right now. You have to take a hard, honest look at your own defining traits.
It's mirror time.
Truly. Whether you take this document literally as a geographic map of the afterlife, or you view it as a profound psychological metaphor for the reality you're experiencing today, it forces you to ask a very uncomfortable question.
Absolutely.
Are you currently operating out of boundless love, out of muddle-headed confusion, kindness, or complete indifference? Because whatever that primary driving mindset is, that is the literal external force drawing your trajectory right now.
It is a massive responsibility to accept. The text demands that we realize our everyday mental habits aren't just fleeting thoughts that disappear into the ether. They are the literal blueprints for our future reality.
But I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, something that builds on all of the mechanics we've discussed today, but wasn't explicitly answered in the text.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We established that the ultimate goal of practice and cultivation is to awaken our spiritual perception, right? The goal is to achieve complete free will, to be entirely unpredictable, and to transform in myriad ways, breaking free from the fixed orbit.
The ultimate escape from determinism.
Exactly that. So, if we manage to achieve that perfectly enlightened state of total free will, does that mean we no longer fit into any of these 14 specific categories on the cosmic map?
Do we just vanish from the system?
Right. Do we become so unpredictable that we just step off the map entirely, existing outside the system? Or does true enlightenment mean we finally have the power to consciously look at this sprawling menu of the cosmos and deliberately choose which realm we want to experience next, simply for the joy of the experience?
That is a fascinating thought.
We'll let you chew on that. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.